I am Marcus James Dixon with Gold Derby, and we would like to welcome everybody to our Making of SNL Mother's Day Monologue panel, focusing on the Emmy nominees for Best Music and Lyrics. And for the music, we have Eli Brueggemann. Hello. And
Hey,
for
hey,
the lyrics, we have Maya Rudolph, Auguste White, Mike DiCenzo, and Jake Nordwind. Hello, everybody, to you too.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, team.
Well, I would love to start out with the Emmy nominations themselves. What was that morning like for all of you when you found out the amazing news? And just for the record, you're all multi-nominees this year. Eli, you're also up for Best Music Direction. Maya, you are also up for SNL guest hosting, for Lute lead actress, for Big Mouth character voiceover. And for August, Mike, and Jake, you are all nominated for the writing category as well. So congrats all around. August, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny because it started off like any other morning, and then I got like 25 texts all at the same time. And naturally, I thought there was some sort of event in the world. I didn't assume that it was going to be about me and these amazing people. But yeah, the news came kind of in a big tidal wave. And it's an honor, and it was so thrilling. And I was like texting Mike and Jake, and we were just kind of having a little virtual huddle celebrating the news. And then I texted Maya and was like, oh my God. And so connecting from all across the country about something really spectacular.
And Mike, how about you?
Well, I mean, I was just scrolling through all the nominees just because I'm curious all the time, and I forgot that we were even up for this one, and then I was just, oh my God, there's our names. But I mean, yeah, it was great fun.
And Jake?
Same as the others. I think an agent texted "nice job" or something, and I was like, "Thank you," but I didn't understand what it. I think that was is I just assumed it was the category that were the writing category, and so then it was more specific, which was cooler.
And Eli?
There's always this like rush that kind of you get grip. Like when you first find out, usually my mom. It's like a feeling that kind of stabs you, and you're like, whoa. And then then you're like, oh, this is really cool. It gives you a little moment.
A feeling that stabs you. I love that description of an Emmy nomination.
Mm.
And Maya, is that how you feel, stabbed?
I felt stabbed.
Electrified.
I was I was so proud of this nomination, honestly. Like this one for me, on a personal level, was so meaningful, and not just in what it means, because this song came out of my brain, which, by the way, rarely happens these days. Like I rarely have an idea where I'm like, I've got an idea, and then it gets written. That doesn't really happen much for me. Um, and it was clear. It was like as clear as a bell, and I feel like that, and then like from start to finish, the experience of it, of making it with this group of people, was joyful, fun from the beginning. Again, just so clear. Like sometimes, and things that turn out great aren't always, not, sometimes they're difficult and then they end up being great too, but this one was just joyful, and I really liked the experience, which I don't always say out loud, and I was just so deeply proud. And so this was a big one for me, and I've always yeah, it's cool. It's cool to have an idea and have great people help you bring it to life and shape it, and then get it made, and then be proud of the product, and then like the process. I think liking the process is so overlooked sometimes and doesn't always get to happen. So I think that was the proud moment of like, wow, we did really good.
And what was the idea behind the style of the song, the ballroom voguing style? Where did that come from?
I just knew what I wanted. I wanted it. I think I reached out to you, August, and
Yeah.
I said, and I had never met August. the lucky perk of being as old as I am now and having had worked there for forever, having worked at SNL forever, is I know how it works. So once I had the idea, I reached out to Steve Higgins and said, I know what I want to do for Monologue. I really want to write this song. And he said, I know exactly who I should pair you with. And he led me to August. And I said to August, I know what I want. I want it to, because it's Mother, I want the essence of RuPaul's Call Me Mother. I want that essence of ballroom mixed with Madonna's Vogue, mixed with Beyonce's Renaissance. And she was like, got it.
And August, take us from there. What did you help bring to this project?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was just so amazing to have that starting point, like Maya said, like it just sprang forth so fully formed. And I think we had so much to choose from. Like all of these cultures and icons have such an immense body of work. It was just a matter of deciding what we wanted to take from that. So what visuals from Renaissance, what beats, what sounds, and obviously that's where Eli comes in and he just creates the soundscape of the world. And I think for us as writers, that's another launch point where now we can hear what it's going to sound like. We know what the dancers are going to be dancing to. We know kind of what the world is going to look and sound and feel like and how it's going to sparkle and shimmer. And that's just a starting point for the lyrics. And so Maya had sent me some ideas, some areas. Obviously, we really wanted to highlight and put forth a lot of the language that already exists in ballroom of Mother and Slay and Gagged. It's just such a full culture. And so we wanted to borrow as much as possible and of course be really funny. And so I think, yeah, like I said, we had so much to choose from in terms of language and comedy and visuals. And over the course of the week, we just tried as much of it as possible and kept rewriting and moving things around and trying things from different angles. And eventually it became the song that you saw on TV.
And Mike, what did you think of this whole idea? And tell us a little bit about it from your perspective of.
I mean, it was unbelievable because a lot of times when, you know, me and Jake work on a lot of different monologues, and a lot of times we really are kind of don't really have an idea until Monday or Tuesday. And this one, you know, August and Maya had been working prior to the week, which almost never happens. And so August came into our office, was like, so Maya sent some stuff and Eli put something together, and it was like, okay, let's hear it. And then it was like, oh, this is like basically 80% there. It was fantastic. And we had, like August said, there was all these lines and rhymes that Maya had sent, just like random fragments of rhymes, but it was so helpful. And yeah, it was like, yeah, it was just kind of putting it together at that point. All the foundation was already there. So huge kudos to August and also Eli and Maya.
Jake, what about for you?
Yeah, no, it was a great experience. I mean, I couldn't like once it came and it was so baked and it just seemed right away like this thing was going to be special and big, and they wanted already to do it in kind of an interesting like one shot as we like walked around the stage. And so it just felt, yeah, I just felt lucky to get to be a part of it. Every now and then you get something like that sort of handed to you and you're like, this is something I would have loved seeing, and I get to be a tiny part of helping to bring it to air. So I just felt grateful.
So Eli, when the group of writers comes to you with an idea like this, how much time do you have to prepare and get the music ready for Saturday night?
I usually have 2 days. In this case, I probably had like 5 or 6 days of working on it. So it was a nice running start this time around. And when it's like, it's not just Maya doing the work there. It's like the audience has a rapport with her, and so there's always this excited energy whenever she's in the room, and it's really easy to follow. you know, because I just kind of got to make sure things don't go off the rails, and you know, let the comedy do what it needs to do. And I just trust I trust the cast. I trust Maya especially to get the job done. So it was kind of, even though it was a big scale, fun for us and the band.
So Maya, the physical blocking, you start on the stage, then you go backstage, you walk around the hallways, you come back through the audience. Talk about that journey. How many times did you rehearse it? How did you all decide that was the way you would take?
I think that was what we did the least. I think we must have done it maybe 3 times tops, or I did it 3 times tops.
Yeah,
before
maybe.
we did it at Dress. Not enough at all. But I, which I'm used to, you know, it's like what Jake was saying, like, I'm someone who loves the show and would be happy just watching it as well. And whatever I've gotten to host, I always take that opportunity to think about what would I like to see, or what's the SNL that that makes me excited to watch it. And I loved watching those monologues that went through the entire studio. And so I always try to do that. And, much to Lauren's chagrin, whenever I host, I'm like, and then we're going to go around the studio, we're going to go under the bleachers. But it's just such a unifying energy, and it's so exciting. It's so exciting for the audience to see the inner workings of the studio, and I get such a thrill from that. So I knew visually that's what I wanted it to be. And then, we have an amazing choreographer there who did the nuts and bolts with the dancers, and then just sort of like stuck me in it, because when you're hosting that week, you're doing 30 other things. And so as much as you'd like to have time for choreography, you have lunch break, I think, to learn it, and then maybe 1 or 2 times. Like when we did it at Air, I noticed like there was like a rotating thing that the girls did, and they both like booty bumped me, and I was just like, keep going, like there's nothing you can do about it. It's just such limited time. But it's the one thing of all the things we did on this project that I think we did the least.
For the writers, do you all have a favorite lyric from the piece? I really loved when Chloe Fineman brings out her dog and Maya responds, honey, that's not a dog, that's a bitch. I was just on the floor laughing. August, what about you?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I love Who's Your Favorite Funty? It's Me, Kamala Hunty.
Of course.
I also just love that part of the song. It's just the energy kind of shifts, and Maya locks in with an intensity that, to borrow a phrase, is just so mother. And so that part of the song is just my favorite. I love that moment. I also noticed that like the dancers kind of are like really enclosing her there, but you just stayed with it. And I mean, you're a pro. It's so funny, like you were saying, this whole undertaking was enormous, but if there's one person who's going to do it and absolutely stick the landing and then some, it was Maya. And so, yeah, that part of the song was just, I think, the moment where I was like, oh, crap, we did it. Like, we really did it. I love that lyric.
And Mike?
I really like actually this was Maya's idea, and I think it was a late kind of addition. It might have even been right before Dress or between Dress and Air, where she kind of shouts out like all the characters throughout the history of the show, Gilda and Debbie Downer and Sweeney sisters and Gilly and everything. I just thought that was such a nice kind of touch, and Maya was really great about like, oh, I want to cover everyone, and we added a verse to it, and just that build up as she's walking to the stage, shouting out all these legends, SNL legends. Like that was such a cool moment, and to share that with everyone, I thought that was just really cool.
And Jake, how about you?
I also was thinking the naming the different sketch characters, which I love, but I have a favorite moment in the piece more than I think a lyric, which is at the very end, Maya, you sort of like landed it and you open your fan and you give this sort of smile that I remember showing both August and Mike afterwards and being like, in that moment, it just feels like you landed it, you know that you like did it. Was that how you were feeling?
Yes, very much so. I had forgotten to open my fan because I was so excited that we did it. Like it was supposed to be like bump mother, right?
Mhm.
And I forgot because we had just gotten the fan. Because remember, I was
Yeah.
like, what am I doing? We need a fan. And
Yes.
the fan at dress was like a fan you buy like by the river, like like a like a little. And I was like, no, we need a fan. And then I forgot about it because I was so excited that we stuck the landing that I think my tongue came out. I think that's how I knew I was excited. But yeah, I was so relieved. It's that moment where like you see the gymnast like, holy shit, I'm still standing. I think you're totally right. I think that was
It was
that moment.
it was just so genuine and so authentic in that moment. And that's such a hard thing at SNL to like have those feel where like you're watching and you're like, wow, you can feel what she was feeling. That I love that moment.
I mean, the last line is really genius. Giving gorgeous, serving pretty. They did it live from New York City. After mentioning all of the other classic characters, it really brought home that this was a song about SNL, about the history of SNL.
That
And
was
Eli, is that how you kind of felt working on this
I just
song?
want to quickly shout out that was August, and I think you came up with that like in the room
That was
off the top
the
of your head. I was like, oh my God.
that was a late addition, but I'm glad we got it in because I think it summarized how we felt writing it, and what we wanted it to really be saying about the show and about all those amazing women. So yeah, thanks guys for the shout out. That was great.
Yeah, because that shout out is meant to be, it's meant to be Vogue. It's meant to be Madonna talking about her version of bringing ballroom to the mainstream, but also talking about legendary Hollywood classic actresses. And that is what I'm doing for comedians. So so that was that moment. And then when August brought me that line, I was like, that's it. It's perfect. Because it's like, that's why we're talking, we're just saying it. It's all the things. It's like it's such an SNL way of paying homage to the people that came before you and that you love and respect, but also being funny at the same time and being referential to everything, because all pop culture is up for grabs and everything when it comes to SNL and comedy.
So Eli, did you feel that this was a special moment as you were working on it? And also, what was the audience reaction live as it was happening?
It was definitely special. I just love what it was a really strong vehicle for comedy, for pace, for keeping keeping the jokes coming, even just having the structure there and everything was such a blessing. I yeah, it was just a fantastic thing to work on. What can I say? It was one of those moments where right after we did it, people were like, you could see the looks on people's faces. You could see the energy backstage that it was like, okay, y'all pulled this one off. Like, slap.
And
I
I
knew
remember
it was something special as soon as we finished.
I was watching it live, and on social media, people were freaking out on social media. I was watching it live, and people were screaming Emmy, Emmy, Emmy as it was happening. So I'm glad that you're all just so proud of it, because it was such a glorious thing to watch. And before we go, season 50 is coming up, and it's such a monumental number, and I'd just love to know from each of you a one-word reaction when you think about 50 years of SNL and what it means to you. Does anyone have their word ready to go?
Sure. Television. It's basically spanning a large percentage of the history of television. It's crazy. So many people, so many comedians, actors, etc., have come out of that show. So many moments, so many cultural moments. They've covered presidents from Ford to, up to Biden right now, and it's just crazy. It's really, the legacy is amazing, and I'm glad it's still on the air because I was a fan of it growing up, and it's cool to be a part of it.
And Jake?
Yeah, I guess I would say, kind of baffling or something. Just not because 50, it's so crazy to get anything on for like a season or two. Like the idea of 50 years, the idea of like multiple generations of my family growing up on this show and watching it and loving it. It just, it's just hard to believe.
August.
I know there's probably a better synonym for this word, but I was gonna say unfinished, which is just a bad way of saying like there's so much more to come. I think year 50 is not just going to be a look at what was, but also a look at what the people at SNL still can do. And there are, you know, new voices, old voices, like the whole combination of the team there is really up to the challenge of continuing the legacy of the show. And I feel like going out on a bang with a performance like this just shows how paying homage to the people who came before you is really just a starting point. And that's what I think of when I think of this season, is just how many surprises are in store that I'm excited to be a part of.
And Eli?
I mean, what could I say that these lovely people haven't said? But from a musician standpoint, it's been the honor of my life to work with the cast and the writers and this incredible band of legendary musicians, and it makes my job easy to work with people like Maya, who are super musicals. They drive the bus. It's rhythmically, so it's like being in a band with a great drummer. You just follow their lead, and that's how it always feels working with the talent that comes through SNL. It's a new challenge every week, and it's a race, and to be a part of is an exhilarating experience, and it's a total honor to be watched by even like 100, or for Lorne Michaels to have continued a relationship with his audience for as long as he has is a really beautiful thing.
And Maya, close us out.
Oh shit, no pressure. All the things you said, I wanted to say popular culture. Well, that's not one word. That doesn't help, Maya. But it's pop culture, it's history, it's legacy. The fact that we are part of something that has been influenced by and shaped culture for this long. It's a phenomenal thing to be a part of, really just bigger than all of us, and such an extraordinary thing to be able to be a part of that's lived for so long, because nothing lasts for 50 years on television anymore. And it's part of what television started out as, live television. But then I was going to say, I'm 50. 50 years old. I like to kick, stretch, and kick. I'm 50. And that's not even my character.
Well, thank you all so much for chatting with us today. Emmy voting is open right now, so everyone get out there and cast your votes. Best of luck at the Emmys, and we'll see you in season 50. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.